All right, I've done it. I've waited. Everybody should be in the room, getting comfy and settled. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to be here with you today at this year's CareCon. Happy National Caregiver Day. Thank you for all the caregivers that are here, all you do, all the caregivers that you know. Just want to shout that out to you, that big thank you for all of that. So before we get started into the nitty gritty and what we're here to do today, I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Leslie Poole, and I have the amazing honor and privilege of being the Program Innovation Manager for the Rosalind Carter Institute for Caregivers. We were founded on the campus of Georgia Southwestern State University in the small but mighty town of Americus, Georgia, in 1987 by former First Lady Rosalind Carter herself. Now we have over 35 years of experience in working with and for caregivers. We strive to improve the health, strength, and resiliency of the nation's 53 million plus family caregivers through a bunch of different efforts, including data-informed programming, advocacy efforts, looking at policy and how it impacts you as a caregiver. Our goal is to try to help make this journey as wonderful, comfortable, and as well as it can be. Caregiving's hard. So with that being said, I want you to know that I understand we have a lot going on. And it's been such an exciting time already with all of our panels, with all of our lounges. I hope you got to check them all out. I see people still filtering in. You haven't missed any of the good stuff yet, so yay. So I want everyone to know that we are just meeting for the first time. I definitely understand that. So I want you to feel comfortable interacting with me however you're most comfortable. So I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. I'm going to get you thinking. And if that means that your interaction with me is just sitting back and digesting that information, seeing how you can use it and integrate it in part of your life, perfectly fine. If you're interactive and like to move around like I do and talk real loud or throw up some emotions, please feel free to throw up the emojis or emoticons or whatever you want to call them and let me know that something really hit you, where it made you think about this work that we're going to talk about. Or if you didn't like something, that's okay too. We can talk about it. Or if you have questions, you can put them in the chat if you need more clarity over the topic that we're going to discuss today. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to try to monitor it all. We're in this new technology world. Well, not new. It still feels new sometimes. So I've got dual screens going on. I'm going to try to make sure everybody gets a chance to interact however they want to. But I will let you know that I'm going to, after this, put in some contact information into the group chat so that you can contact us at RCI if you'd like to know more about what we do, how you can be a part of our organization, how our organization can help you, about our awesome programs, our initiatives, or if you have a question about disaster emergency planning and you want to get some more details on it. There's going to be a way that you can get in contact with us, and it's going to be great. We love to hear from our caregivers. We love to be a part of your journey and to provide you information that's going to help you. Also with that, I don't know if you guys are note takers. I'm a self-professed note taker. I love my pen and paper so very much. But I'm going to give you a lot of information today, and you've already gotten a ton of information today from all the panels, all the vendor booths, all the lounges you've been in. So have no fear. I'm going to make sure you get all the information that I talk about today in your swag bag that you'll get after this event. It's going to contain everything I'm going to talk about and then some. And at the end of this presentation and workshop, I'm going to show you what that material is going to look like and how you can use it and just some quick walkthroughs with it. So with all of that being said, that if you're here today in this workshop with me, that means you want to talk about how to be a prepared caregiver, and especially prepared when it comes to disasters and emergencies. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk you through and take you through some very basic steps in how you can plan for and be prepared for any disaster or emergency that may happen to you in your home or the person that you're giving care to. So, you're going to get lots of tips, tricks, and hopefully by the end of it, we can have a better understanding of how we can manage during a disaster, because our goal is to keep ourselves safe, the people that we love safe, and to make sure that we can have a really good journey while we're going through some really scary things, okay? So first off, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to get you thinking, got to get those gears turning. So, the first thing I'm going to start off with is I'm going to ask you to think about the last time you experienced a disaster. Okay, so spend a few seconds. I want you to think about it. When's the last time you went through a disaster event, an emergency event of some kind? I know you've been through one. We just went through a global pandemic, so we all know what COVID-19 was like. So, do we have our event in our head, what we're thinking about? Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I want you to think about, how did it feel to go through it? Were you a caregiver at the time? Were you not? Was the person that you're currently giving care to not diagnosed at the time, or wasn't really showing symptoms? They were still very early on in that stage, especially when we talk about Alzheimer's disease and dementia and our cognitive progressive diseases. So I want you to think about that, and I want you to kind of think about, when you were going through that disaster, that emergency, was it scary? Did it feel uncomfortable? Was it just really chaotic? So I'm going to tell you, for me, when I think about a disaster and emergency event, I think about a tornado that we had in 2007 in our hometown, which is where RCI's national headquarters are located. The reason I think about that event so prominently in my head, excuse me, is that during that tornado, it took down our hospital. It leveled our hospital, our healthcare center that had a lot of our specialty offices, our healthcare offices, gone. In 3 minutes, we lost everything. And for me at the time, I'm going to be honest with you, I was not a caregiver. So I didn't really feel like I had to struggle a lot. It was devastating that we had lost a healthcare system, because our next closest healthcare system to us was about 30 minutes away. And you all know, as caregivers, that 30 minutes is make or break. It's do or die. That's the difference between life and death sometimes. And when you don't have that, it's very scary to think about. So when you think about disasters and you think about being prepared and you think about that event that you're thinking of right now, did you feel as prepared as you could have been? And you can throw up some emojis. Don't be scared. Interact with me. Um, did you feel like you were prepared? And that's okay if you felt like you were really prepared. That's cool. That's great. Yeah, I see some thumbs up. You're thinking, we're getting it. Everybody's thinking. I see a thumbs down. We didn't feel like we were prepared, or we felt like we were prepared. That's okay. I'm going to tell you, in 2007, when I went through that tornado, I wasn't a caregiver. I wasn't providing care for anybody. I wasn't helping anybody. I was newly married. So, I was doing my own thing. I was lucky enough to have some in-laws that lived in the next town over. So I didn't really have to stress about what I was going to do. I had a place that had power, that had food, that had warmth and comfort. So being prepared really wasn't a thought of mine. But now, when I think about the people that I help care for, that I help make sure that are okay, when I think about something like that happening now, that's devastating. That causes me a lot of stress. That causes me a lot of anxiety. Think about going through something like that and not being prepared, or at least having a plan. And the whole point of this exercise, to get you to think about what it was like to go through a disaster, is to really give space and allow yourself to understand that going through any type of emergency, whether that's a tornado or a house fire or your loved one falls, is hard. Okay, I want to give you the space and allow you to feel that and allow you to know that it's okay to feel that anxiety, to feel that stress, to kind of be, I don't even know what's happening, because disasters are hard. They're hard in a bunch of different complexities. So, one, they're physically hard. So, we think of emergencies, we think of disasters, we think of things that have happened in our community. We have cleanup. Cleanup is hard. Recovery is hard after a disaster. There's trees that had to be cut down. What if our house lost power? We've got to go through our refrigerator and clean out our refrigerator and then go buy food. And it's all physically dependent upon you as a caregiver. That's hard. It's hard mentally and emotionally because some really dangerous things are about to happen or have happened. And a lot, if not most of those things, are out of our control. So we don't really know. We're kind of jumping off a cliff and hoping for the best. And it's really hard to go through those things when you have a disease and you're living with a disease like dementia. So it's important for you to know, and I'm going to say this several times, okay? So don't feel like you're not going to hear it again. That as hard as it is for us to go through an emergency, a disaster, it's equally, if not more hard for the person that's living with some type of dementia or Alzheimer's disease or some kind of neurological disease. And that's because those people live in a different reality. You're going to hear me say that several times. Those individuals that we love, we care for, they're living in a different reality where our timeline might be linear in some kind of capacity. Theirs isn't, and it's all over the place. So it's hard for them when they see scary and uncertain things happen. They don't know how to take that. So just remember, as we're planning, as we're going through this workshop, we have to keep in mind that the person that we care for is living in a different reality. Okay, so again, they're not trying to give us a hard time. They are having a difficult time, and we have to give space to that as well. Okay, so I'm going to tell you that no matter how uncertain or how scary an emergency or a disaster can be, that as a dementia caregiver, there are some evergreen tools that you can use to help you get started. Okay, so if you've never thought about what preparedness means for you, or you've given some thought to it, but you haven't really nailed down what that means and how are you going to be prepared, I'm going to give you 4 evergreen tools. That means you can use them anytime, day and night. They are there for you. They are evergreen. They don't ever go away, and they're always useful. Okay, so I'm going to give you my top 4, and this is what I use with any caregiver that comes to me and says, "Oh, I'm really scared about disasters. I'm really scared about emergencies, and what's that going to mean for me?" So these are things that I use within my own home, within my own caregiving journey that I'm on, going on, been on, still on, with my family, with my community. These are things that I approach them with to get them started and being prepared. Okay, so I'm going to tell you first, number 1, first and foremost, my friends, we have got to have a plan. Okay, you got to have a plan. You got to start making a plan. And that sounds really big. I know that probably sounds a little overwhelming. You got to have a plan. There's so many parts that go in it. But I'm going to stop you. I'm going to tell you that not only do you need to have a plan, but you need to have a plan that fits you as a caregiver and your needs, okay? So when you think about a plan, I tell people your plan can be in any format you want. The sky's the limit. I've seen it done some crazy ways. I've seen Excel spreadsheets. I've seen PowerPoints. I've seen videos. I've seen voice notes. Your disaster emergency plan can be in any format that you want, but it needs to fit your needs as a caregiver. And what I mean by that is you need some very specific things in there, okay? So number 1, your caregiver focused emergency disaster plan needs to include your care team. Your care team. Those people that you call on to help you with your caregiving journey and your caregiving needs, you need to have those people in your disaster emergency plan, because that team is not only very vital on our best of caregiving days when we need help, but they're also vital on the worst caregiving days, like when a disaster hits, or a tornado is coming, or a severe storm, or there's a water problem in our town. Those are the people you're going to call. And the people that need, or that are on your care team that need to be in this plan, you need to think about it in terms like this. First and foremost, who are you going to call first? Who are you going to call? You got a list, right? You got a checklist of people you call first, second, third, fourth. You got a list. I know I have one. So you got to think about, in this plan, I'm going to put the people that I'm going to call first. I'm going to call to check in and let them know that we are safe. Okay. And then I'm also going to have a section in there for people that I'm going to call on that are going to help me when I need help getting something for my loved one. So when you're in a disaster, and let's say you've had to evacuate and you're running out of medication, well, you need somebody that can go to the pharmacy for you or sit with your person so that you feel like you can go and do those things and you can get kind of stabilized in some capacity. So it's really important that you kind of have, who am I going to call and check in with? Who's going to help me do all of this stuff? And then I'm going to tell you the most important part of that is, does your care team know? So we need to make sure, hey, I'm working on a preparedness plan. I want to be a prepared caregiver in this world. I want to be prepared. You're on my care team. I want you to know that in the event of a disaster, this is what I see you helping me with. Okay? So your plan needs to include your care team and who you're going to call. The second thing that plan needs to include is what I call fast facts about the person you provide care for. Okay? Remember, we're dealing in a situation that's very chaotic. And so our loved ones that are living with dementia, that are living with Alzheimer's, usually have warning signs when they're getting irritated or anxious. You know, are they pacing? Are they picking at things? Are they fidgeting? Can't stay still? What are those early warning signs? Because in your plan, you're going to need to know that, because you might not be at home with all of your comfort items, or you might be separated for some reason. So say you had to go to the hospital and your loved one had to stay with part of their care team. They need to know what those early warning signs are, that they're getting irritated and anxious, so that then they can help them in calming and redirecting and refocusing. Because we not only want to know what the warning signs are, we also want to know what activities or what things do you do as their caregiver. And remember, as a caregiver, you are the expert in providing care to that person. So you want to know what their warning signs are and what you do to help them calm and ease that anxiety. Is that you say a phrase to them? Do you have a special song that helps soothe them? We want to make sure that we're paying attention to all of that, and we have that in our plan. Because when you're going somewhere or you're getting separated or you need to put that plan into action, that person that's going to help you needs to know all of those nitty-gritty fun facts. Okay, I'm going to tell you that in this plan with these fast facts, don't forget your nitty-gritty details. That's what I call them, your nitty-gritty details, your list of your medications, your doctors, any other kind of emergency contacts or needs that you may have. And that goes not just for the person you're caring for, but you too. You're important. We have to keep you healthy as a caregiver, okay? So we want to make sure that we have information that helps everybody get the best care that they need, okay? So first thing, what are we going to do when we're being prepared? We're going to make a plan, and we're going to have some very specific things in there that's tailored to us as a caregiver, because we are not just planning for ourselves, we're planning for other people as well, okay? You're in a 2-for-1 deal is what I call it. So you've got to make sure you're prepared for yourself and the person you're caring for. Number 2, the second thing I'm going to tell you that you need to have when you're getting prepared, and this is kind of an action item, but it's a really important action item, is that you need to know where your weather alerts are going to come from. Where are your alerts going to be? And when will you know that this alert is serious enough for me to put my disaster plan in action? Or I need to make sure my emergency kit's good to go, that I have all those kind of little things ready to go as soon as I hit that alert and it gets really serious, okay? So I'm going to tell you a fact that we found in our research and looking at disaster preparedness and caregiving, is that not everybody knows that every community has an alert system, okay? That is a given fact. Every community has some type of alert system to let you know when there's an emergency, a disaster, when bad weather is coming in, when you need to be in the know, okay? And then not only do they have that system, but every community has an individual that's put in charge of putting out those alerts, okay? So what I want you to do, if you're planning and you want to know the best place to get your information, to know what's happening and know how it's going to impact you, you need to contact your community, your county officials. So there's some really easy things you can do. You can look on a website, your community website, your official community page. You can call if you're in a small town, like me. I'm in a very small town, so it's nothing for me to see the show and be like, hey, who does our weather alerts? Who's in charge of that? But you want to make sure you know who that county community official is that's put in charge of this. And then you're knowing how they're going to put out those alerts and what channels they're going to do. So some really small communities might do Facebook Live. So every day when there's an event, they might check in on a Facebook Live at noon. Or it could be that there's a special system like Code Red or something like that, where you put in your number and then they push out text messages to you to tell you what's going on and what you need to be aware of. Find the agency involved with this and start looking at where you can make your plan customizable to you, knowing this is where you're going to get your alerts. Remember, every community has one. Start by looking at your county page, your official county website. They should have some information on there, and you can look and see how you can take part of that and contact that person. Also, when you're looking at your weather alerts, how you're going to get those alerts to you, so you can take care of yourself and the person you're caring for, you need to also talk about sheltering and evacuation, okay? You're caring for somebody that is living with some type of dementia, okay? Going to shelters can be very, very devastating to them. It's an unknown place, it's an unknown situation you're in, or you might have to evacuate your community entirely. That can be very scary. So you want to contact this individual, you want to see who's in charge of your weather alerts, because not only do you want to find out how I'm getting the weather alerts, but what's the best shelter for me? Let me tell you about my situation. And let me tell you that I'm a caregiver. I'm providing care for someone that's living with dementia, and I want to know what is my best options for sheltering, whether that's sheltering in place, at a shelter, and then where's my best evacuation route. I have a care team member that lives somewhere that I can get to that can help me. What's the best way for me to evacuate if you were to call for evacuation? Okay, so everybody still with me? We're still here. All right. So the next thing, the third evergreen thing I'm going to tell you, and you're going to hear this a lot. See a thumbs up. Thank you so much. The third thing I'm going to tell you, and you're going to hear this in any type of dementia care, they're going to tell you this is really important, but this is also equally as important when we're looking at preparedness for emergencies and disasters. Routines and familiar things, okay? Because why? I told you I was going to say it more than once. The person you're caring for is now living in a different reality. Remember, they're not on the same wavelength we are. They're in a different time. Their cognitive ability, it doesn't function like us. So we're in a couple of different places. So it's important that we recognize that natural disasters or emergencies like COVID, Hurricane Harvey, the wildfires in the West, all of those things are filled with uncertainty. So we as a caregiver are automatically going to feel that, okay? You're not going to go through a disaster just easy breezy lemon squeezy and just, let it roll off your back. I've got this, don't worry. You're going to feel some uncertainty. Your loved one that you're caring for is going to feel that as well. And the more uncertainty they feel can cause a lot more agitation, irritation, and it just really increases the likelihood of them hurting themselves or others, okay? So it's important when we look at disasters and preparedness, we're looking at how we keep each other safe, because we don't want to have to go to a hospital or healthcare setting if we don't have to, okay? We want to remain where we are as safe as possible. So I say when we know bad weather is coming, or we know that there is a disaster, because sometimes we get those alerts that are warning us bad weather is coming, this is a potential. When we know that's coming, we want to check our emergency kit, and we want to make sure that there are things in that kit that bring our loved one joy, that bring them comfort, that keep them occupied so they're not stressing over things that we as caregivers cannot control. Okay. So that could be really easy things as we know bad weather's coming and the power might go out, or there might be some really devastating storms. So I'm going to make sure that the person that I'm caring for has their comfiest pajamas or their comfiest clothes. I'm also going to make sure that if I had to evacuate or go somewhere else, or we're going to have to shelter in a room that's not our typical room in our house, like our living room, and we're going to have to stay there, or my loved one's going to have to come and hunker down in my room, that they have their favorite blanket and that it's soft, it's comfortable, our pillows, we have all of those things that give us comfort, that help us feel safe and secure. That could also mean that we're playing some of their favorite music to help soothe them, even though we can hear a storm going on in the outside of our house. We've got soothing things, soothing vibes going on the inside. We're staying comfortable, we're staying safe. But this also means that we should stay on our routine, our schedule as much as possible. People living with some type of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, things like that, having routines really makes the difference. And if you don't really have a routine yet, I challenge you. This is my challenge to you. Just go through the day and see when your meals are. When does your loved one take meds? Write that down if you do it at certain times. Make sure you kind of have a firm schedule so that when you get into an event like this, you can make sure that they're still taking their medicine at the same time. We have a snack or a little meal that's at the same time. So we're continuously keeping that routine. Okay. So I say that as an example. If you were to have to evacuate and you're on the road and you're like, this is the time we usually have an afternoon snack, but we're having to evacuate. Make sure you have a couple little items that you can say, hey, this is our snack time. I'm going to give you this and we're going to turn on the radio and I'm going to keep driving, but you can have a snack and eat. And then I brought your pillow so you can lay down in the car and rest after you eat. Making sure that that routine as close as possible resembles what they would do in a non-emergency, non-disaster type setting. Okay. So with that, we're going to come to my last evergreen tool I'm going to give you, okay? And it's an easy one. It's a really, really easy one. Activities, 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 okay? Activities, activities, activities. Yes, I see some people clapping. Yes, yes, because one of the easiest ways to keep everyone calm, and I'm talking about you caregivers out there, and I'm talking about the people you care for, is to make sure our minds are occupied. Idle minds wander and worry. Okay. So we want to make sure that you, as a caregiver, have an ability to remain calm and then directly help the person you're giving care for to remain calm. Okay. So when you're getting prepared, you're getting things together, you're thinking through your plan, and you're looking at what really helps my loved one calm down. Remember, we're going to look at those early warning signs. And we know one of our early warning signs is they repeat questions, or they pace a lot, or they get really fidgety and they can't seem to stay still. See, I can't even talk today. Stay still. We're going to think of some low to no technology ways, okay? Low to no technology ways, excuse me, to keep everyone occupied, to make sure that when we notice that things are getting really serious outside, we're about to pass over the worst of what's about to happen to us, or it's getting really bad out there, we have some really quick ways that we can engage our loved one, redirect them. Remember, redirection as a dementia caregiver is one of our best tools. Refocus, redirection is that we have some simple things to do that. And that's all dependent upon where your loved one is in their progression, how that plays out, what are they able to do. So I'm going to give you some examples. That could be an activity book. If they like to do those kind of things, it can be pens and papers and you can doodle on them. Reading books for you as caregivers, having some self-care in the middle of an emergency so you can regroup and refocus and breathe. It's going to be a tough time we're going through. It could be little handheld games, a deck of cards, fidget toys. I've learned in my experience in looking at disaster preparedness, emergencies, when working with caregivers and people that they care for, fidget toys are really awesome to have. Really small. You can put them in your pocket. You can put them in your disaster bag, your go bag, your kit, and they can kind of be everywhere. And that's something you can give somebody that they can hold on to, that they can have, that they can fidget with. So those are really good kind of examples of what you can use when you think about activities. We just want to be sure that we're thinking of if the power goes out, okay? So we can't depend that power is going to be there. It's going to be functioning for forever and ever and ever, because that can be intermittent, especially if we have a severe storm. So we want to make sure that we're really thinking of those really low to no technology ways to keep everybody occupied. This is for you, though, as a caregiver. When you are looking at activities and you're looking at getting stuff together to go in your bag, getting prepared, making your plan, do not forget your chargers or your backup battery chargers, okay? Because what do you got to do when you get someplace safe? What's going to happen? You're going to call your care team. Remember, you got that list of people you're going to call to say, hey, we're safe. We're okay. This is what's happening right now. Okay. So we can't do that if our technology is dead and it's not charging. And we want to be prepared if we have to go to somewhere that might have power or might have a generator that lets us charge our technology, so that we can not only tell everybody on our care team and in our family that we're safe, we're okay, but we can also stay in touch with officials, get alerts, make sure that we know what's going on around us. If there's a curfew in place, what that curfew is, or if there's resources out there, we want to make sure we have the technology so that we can keep in touch with that. We can't do that if we don't have chargers and our phones are dead, okay? I'm also going to tell you a really interesting way to involve your loved one in checking in with your family is to let them be able to call and check in as they're able, okay? But this means on the back end, when you tell your care team they're part of your disaster plan, you need to have some very big boundaries with that, okay? And what I mean is, you don't want your loved one to call someone on your care team and your care team's like, oh my gosh, isn't it just horrible out there? Look how horrible it is. Aren't you scared? No, that's not the goal of this. The goal is for your loved one to see a familiar face if you're able to FaceTime, Skype, or hear somebody, and they're able to get reassurance, and they're able to kind of work through uncomfortable emotions they may be feeling, because someone that they love and trust, that's not you, the caregiver, somebody else that's on that care team, to say, oh yeah, it's great. You're going to have a sleepover at this cool place. You're going to be here. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to call and check back in with you at this time. I can't wait to hear what's going on. Okay? So remember that your loved one can be involved with this as much as they're able. We don't want them to feel like they can't be involved, they can't be prepared, but we want to make sure that's within their limits and what they can do. And that might just be them picking out their comfy clothes, or what would bring them comfort in a really stressful time. What do they love to have with them? When I talk about activities, I'm also going to give you something as a caregiver that I don't want you to do, okay? I do not want you to doom scroll. Okay, guys, don't doom scroll. If you got power, let's not keep the 24-hour news cycle on. We want to limit our news intake, okay? And there is a very good reason why. It can be really hard to watch the news continuously when you're going through a disaster. And all of that continuous doom and gloom, that stress you're going to see, is going to really impact you as a caregiver. It's going to cause a lot of negative emotions. And whether you feel that right now or later on, it's going to make your recovery harder. There is research that, if you're doom scrolling, if you're constantly inundated with this negative news if you're going through something like this, that can make the recovery harder from a mental health perspective, because all you're going to be focused on is all that you've lost, all the hardships that you've gone through, okay? And we don't want that. We want our recovery to be something positive. It might not be the way it always was, but it's something we can find a way to work with. So limit your news intake, schedule specific check-in times, and focus on the channels that you are going to receive your local alerts from, okay? So we're going to hone that down. We're not going to watch CNN 24/7. We're going to look at our local news. We're going to see where those people that are in charge of putting out those weather alerts, what channels are they going to be? Is that a Facebook Live at noon? Okay. Well, at noon, I'm going to get on Facebook. I'm going to listen to this alert, see what the latest updates are. I'm going to maybe scroll for a few minutes, tell everybody I'm okay, and then I'm going to hop off, because I'm going to focus on making sure that I'm okay, that I'm working on my stress, that I'm really focused on the wellness of this relationship I have with me and the person I care for, okay? We want to make sure that our recovery is really good. Recovery in the event of an emergency or disaster can be devastating. Okay, I'm going to call back to COVID-19. We lost a lot, guys. We lost a tremendous amount in that 2-year span. And you saw it every day, all day. It was in your face. And it made coming back out of that time, out of lockdown, a little bit harder, It made us kind of really think about all of the doom and gloom that we saw and how could we ever move forward. We don't want that for ourselves. We don't want that for the person we care for. We don't want that for ourselves. We want our recovery to be really integrated, really thoughtful and intentional, that we're able to check those emotions and we're able to focus on what needs to be done in the recovery phase of our preparedness, of our emergency, of our disasters, okay? I am quickly coming up on time, so I'm going to tell you some things real quick that I want you to remember, all right? So now that I've given you 4 evergreen tools for you to help you go through a disaster and to be prepared, let's hit them again, okay? So number 1, what are we going to do? We're going to plan now. If we haven't planned, we're going to start planning now. What are we going to do when a disaster happens, okay? And if you have a plan, revisit it, okay? Things change, we change. Our disaster plans need to change with us. We should think about preparedness and planning for emergencies and having that plan as a living document, okay? It should be able to flow and change with us. I also want you to remember that your emotions are contagious, okay? I know that's really hard. We're going through a disaster. It's going to be so hard to keep that in check. The more stress and worry we have, the more likely the person we care for will catch those negative emotions, okay? And that will increase the likelihood of them hurting themselves or others because they're so anxious and they don't know what's happening. They're looking to us to kind of set that stage. So the more that we can put into planning to be mindful of our emotions, intentional, the more likely that it's going to be really good for the person on the other end, our care recipients, the people we care for, to really be grateful and really be okay during this time. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, when you think about that, that's my greatest cheerleader back there. If you heard that, that's Mocha. I'm going to tell you that when you look at your emotions and how contagious they are, put some thought into how you can talk about them, okay? We can all talk about how we're feeling, and that's okay, so that we can help the person that we care for understand what's happening and remembering our early warning signs, okay? So that could be, we're having to evacuate. Hey, we're going to go for a drive because the weather's going to get bad, so we want to go someplace where it's nicer. Or let's go look at the sun. Or, hey, let's go visit so-and-so. We haven't seen them in a long time. Let's go. The other thing you need to remember, have your care team ready. I said it a lot and I can't say it enough. Your care team is there to help you when disaster strikes, okay? So make sure you're talking to them so they know what they need to do. They know how they can help you, and they know that you're going to call on them when that disaster happens or that emergency. Activities. Remember, idle minds wander, and they worry. Okay, so make sure the person that you care for and you don't leave yourself out of this. You need to take care of yourself in an emergency, in a disaster, just as much as you need to take care of the person that you love. Okay, so make sure you have things that bring you comfort, that bring you joy, that the person you care for can also have, so that we can be busy on other things than the uncertainty of a disaster. The biggest thing I want you to know is that there are resources out there, okay? So like I said, you're going to look for your emergency community alerts. Where are they going to be located at? You're going to look on that community website, that Facebook page. You're going to call your local government office. That's what they're there for, to help us. And we want to know the person in charge of emergency management in our area. And what we're going to do is we want to set up time to talk with them, okay? We want to tell them what our situation is, that we're a caregiver with somebody that's living with some type of dementia or cognitive neurological disorder, disease, challenges, and that we want to know where's the best place to get our alert, where's the best shelter for me and the person I care for. That's not just a shelter, the best shelter for you and the person you care for. Where should you go? What is the recommendation? You can ask to see where this shelter is. You can ask if you can do a tour in person or even virtually. Can I virtually see it? Can you show me what it looks like? So that way, if you were to have to go to a shelter with your loved one, you have an idea of what you're going to need there, okay? Remember, shelters are not warm, comfy places. They're not meant to be like home. So it's important that you're prepared with your emergency kit of what kind of comfort items you're going to take with you, okay? And then I also suggest that if nothing else, make sure you ask that person that's in charge of those alerts if there's a special need registry, or I'm somebody that's taking care of somebody and I have some special needs. Is there a special need registry, so that when the all clear is given, your first responders know that I need somebody to check on me and make sure I'm okay, and that I have access to resources to help me thrive in this very difficult time. All right. And then I'm going to tell you the last and the best thing about disaster planning and how it can be. Okay. Get really excited. Just remember, kiss. Keep it super simple, okay? Because the simpler we have with our action items, the more successful we're going to be. All right, so that's my top. It's my top ways for you to be prepared. And what I'm going to show you now is I see a thumbs up. Thank you guys. You guys are great. I am going to show you I'm going to show you what you're going to get in your swag bag, okay? So in your swag bag, you are going to, it's going to pop up on the screen how fancy of them. You're going to get a document that looks like this, okay? It's going to talk you through everything that I just mentioned, every single thing that I said, and then some. What's important for you to know is that we have tips. You'll see a little light bulb with a tip that's going to talk you through some important tips that's designed for you as a dementia Alzheimer's caregiver, what you can do. And then also, one of the really fun things about this document is that we have examples. So talk to your loved one about a trip. Well, here's an example of how you can do that. Here's an example of the sentence that you can use, or some kind of language you can use around it. Oh, we need to keep our loved one busy. Here's some examples. You want to stay on your schedule? Here's some examples of how we can do that. So know that in this document, we're not just telling you what you need to do. We're giving you tips. We're giving you examples. And then the best part of all, to help you in your emergency plans, you got to have an emergency kit. So in your swag bag, in this document, you're going to get an emergency kit to help you start with that planning, to help you see what you need in that kit as a dementia Alzheimer's caregiver. And this kit is specific to dementia caregiving, okay? So it's going to tell you things like if you need adult briefs or sneakers or shoes, see if they have some Velcro in them. Make sure you have your backup glasses or contacts, and then your loved one's favorite items so you don't forget it. So this is all customized for you as a dementia caregiver. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing. And we have just a few minutes. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Oh, I have to tell everybody, thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm just moving forward. Okay, so with that, guys, I'm going to tell you that ends my time with you. I want to tell you how grateful I am that you're here with me today. And RCI is so excited to have more prepared caregivers out there. And we hope that this helps you thrive in uncertainty and difficult times. Again, my name is Leslie Poole. I'm going to drop in this chat if I can. We'll see how well it works. Current room. May I share a book on dealing with 911 emergencies? Yes, it's very important. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for doing that. It's really important that you know how your 911 system operates and how you operate in emergencies. So thank you for dropping that in. This is our website. I'm going to put it right here. Here is an email. If you want to email for more information about this, please hit us up. It'll come to me and I'll be more than happy to help you with any of your planning or talking about any of the programs we have here. And if you're an old schooler and you want to talk to somebody, buddy, I got a phone number for you. So with all of that being said, there are several ways that you can contact us, either through our website, through the email, or you can call us directly, okay? So if you have any questions, I think we're here for like another minute. I am here to answer them. But I want to thank you all again. Thank you for coming and finding out how we can be more prepared in emergencies. So have a great afternoon. I hope you had a lot of fun so far. I have. I went to the panel too. Comedy and laughter was my fun one. All right. And I think we're going to go back to the main room. The lounges are open. Uh, Maybe, yes, I don't know. But if y'all are out and want to check out some more, please do. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate all of your attentiveness, being here with me. Thank you so much. Kim, I see you. Thank you for giving me the clap. Clap, clap, clap. All right. Thank you, guys. I've enjoyed being with you today. Thank you so much.